Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here back at the one-to-one conference here in Hong Kong. And before I get started, I'd like to draw everybody's attention to our safe harbor language. So there are hundreds of gold companies that you can invest in today. Most are value stories. A few are growth stories. Teranga is different because we're both a value and a growth story. We've got a very clear vision. And that vision is to create a multi-asset, mid-tier gold producer in West Africa that's capable of producing 500,000 ounces of gold or more within the next 5 years. So taking a closer look at our pipeline, we have a producing asset in Senegal. We have a second mine under construction in Burkina Faso. We have a new discovery, which we think will be our third mine, also in Burkina Faso. And we've assembled a very attractive land package in Cote d'Ivoire. It is this pipeline that separates us from many other mining companies. We can become a mid-tier gold producer by simply executing and advancing this organic growth pipeline. Taking a closer look at our assets in that pipeline, starting with Sabadell, it's our flagship mine. It's an open pit mine. It's the largest gold mine in Senegal. In 2017, we optimized and updated the tech report. 13-year mine life, 2.7 million ounces in reserves. Over a 5-year period beginning in 2018, we expected it to produce over 1 million ounces of gold and generate $230 million in free cash flow at $1,250 gold, which we would use to fund our organic growth pipeline. With the first of that 5-year program behind us, we're not only on track to meet, but to exceed that 5-year plan. As you can see from the next slide, since our IPO in 2010, we've got a very good track record of being able to replace reserves. In the near term, we're going to be able to do that through our Nakateri deposit, which is our largest deposit on the mine license. We're currently moving the local village, which will be done next year. And when that's done, we'll be able to get in and drill this deposit, which has not been drilled off, and begin the mining process. Sorry about that. I apologize. The previous slide was just looking at our production. Again, it was a record year for us. We've had 3 record years in a row. It's because we have outperformed our reserve model based on change in grade control procedures 4 years ago. We're up about 25%. Last year, not only did we outperform the reserve model, we came in below the low end of our cost structure, and we generated over $50 million in free cash flow. As I mentioned, long reserve life, big reserve base. Turning now to our second asset, Wahgnion. It will be our second producing gold mine when it's completed later this year. We expect it to increase company-wide production by 50% to 300,000 to 350,000 ounces of gold per year. Last fall, we put out an updated tech report, increasing reserves by 40% to 1.6 million ounces, extending the mine life to 13 years. Over the first 5 years of its operation, we expect it to produce about 130,000 ounces of gold per year, all-in sustaining costs of less than $800 per ounce, and that'll translate into about $60 million in free cash flow per year. I'd like to emphasize that all of our reserves are from these 4 deposit areas, which remain open along trend and at depth. And we've got more than a dozen other targets that we will be drilling, all within trucking distance. So ultimately, we think Wahgnion, like Sabodala, will have at least a 15 to 20-year reserve life. Project's well on schedule for completion this year. Those are just the key facts, but project is going well. We're at peak construction with 1,700 people on board, and we've gone 3 million man-hours without LTI. So the focus is now turning to completing the mill, power plant, and fuel storage, and then the commissioning program and ramping up to full production. Based on the project being ahead of schedule, we increased our guidance for the year in terms of production from 18,000 ounces last fall, which we guided to. We're now guiding 30,000 to 40,000 ounces from this project. So now moving to our most advanced exploration property, Golden Hill. It's located on the Houndé Belt in Burkina Faso. We've been drilling this property for the last 2 years. Last year, we acquired our joint venture partner's interest. We own 100%, and we also were able to execute on a joint venture on the ACC property, which is located in the north and contiguous with Golden Hill. You can see we're in the right area. A number of high-grade discoveries have been made over the last number of years. We put out a very early initial resource, 415,000 ounces of indicated at 2 grams. Again, this is all near surface with a low strip, and a further 644,000 ounces of inferred at 1.7 grams. Again, very strong base to build on, and we think it is going to get larger. As you look at the next slide, you can see that we've drilled 9 targets. Each one of those is open at depth and along strike. We're still making discoveries within that 7.5 kilometer radius that we've been drilling. And then we've got the ACC property, and then we've got that distance between the 2 targets. So a lot more drilling to go. We've started the met work. We're doing met work for the top 5 deposits. And once we've got that complete, then we can then complete our technical and economic assessment. We expect to move this project into feasibility study this year, and we've secured $25 million through tourist funds to be able to do that. So we believe this will be our 3rd mine, and this is the ability to take us to 500,000 ounces or more in annual production within the next 5 years. Last but not least is Cote d'Ivoire. Country's probably the most prospective in all of Africa to look for gold. We've got a large land position. We've entered through 2 JVs. The first is with MIM Invest, a company that's controlled by our largest shareholder and director, David Mimran. Early stage projects, we've been able to advance a number of those. We had a first ever drill program at Guitry. We had very good results. We'll be back in drilling that one this year. We've got 2 other properties that have moved forward, and they are drill ready this year, subject to the availability of cash. Second JV we have is on Afema. It's located right adjacent to the Ghanaian border, where a number of prospective gold belts cross from Ghana. We're currently doing a shallow oxide drill program looking at a smaller heap leach, but we do think that this regional land package has world-class potential. So we're going to have more to say about Cote d'Ivoire in the coming quarters and years. So when we IPO'd in 2010, we knew to be successful in West Africa, you needed to lead with a very strong CSR program, and we've done just that. That strong CSR program was one of the main attractions that attracted David Mimran to join our board and make a sizable investment of over 20%. And it has really facilitated our growth in Senegal, and it's now paving the way for our growth in Burkina and Cote d'Ivoire. We work very hard with all of our stakeholders to be a partner of choice and to earn their trust and respect. And we think that that is paying off. So in summary, this year is a pivotal year for Teranga. We have a vision of becoming a multi-asset, mid-tier gold producer in West Africa that's capable of producing 500,000 ounces of gold per year. By the end of this year, we'll have 2 producing mines. We're guiding 245,000 to 270,000 ounces in production this year, which would be the 4th record year in a row on production. And then next year, with the full year with our second mine, we expect to produce between 300,000 and 350,000 ounces of gold. We have another project, Golden Hill, that we think will be in the feasibility study of development. And then beyond that, we've got Cote d'Ivoire, which could be the next leg of growth. Currently have a market capitalization of roughly $350 million US. Last year, from one asset, we generated over $100 million US in EBITDA and nearly $100 million in operating cash flow. Now with the second asset in development and operation this year, we expect those numbers to rise. So as I mentioned at the outset, we see ourselves as both a value and a growth story. Thank you very much.